Now, it's quite clear that Tottenham need to rebuild their squad after the injuries that have plagued them in the Premier League this season. And with January literally on our doorstep, today on the Sunny Talk Spurs channel, I'm going to be putting forward some transfer rumours that Tottenham should sign this January. But if you are new to the Sunny Talk Spurs channel, then drop us a like, hit the subscribe as well as the notification bell, and also leave your comments down below. Which one of these players should we sign? Now, yeah, I'm back again. I'm doing a similar video to the one I did a few weeks ago where I'm basically going to go through a few of the rumours that I've seen circulating on social media. You know, some are paper rumours, they probably won't happen, and some possibly could, and I put possibly in brackets there and all that. But yeah, it's one of those ones where it's really hard to say where they're going to happen. You know, Tottenham famously don't spend too much in January. It is a tricky period for the club to really make transfers, but our squad is absolutely decimated at the moment. So we do need something. We need to strengthen in key areas. So let's hope Daniel Levy takes his finger out of his backside and, you know, signs some players that we really, really need. But obviously, Ange Postecoglou has been speaking to the media and sort of hinted that, I mean, hasn't really given too much away about what we might or might not do in the January transfer window.
And you mentioned the inconsistency of the players you've been able to put out. It's like no secret that you've struggled with injuries this year. Just a week until the January transfer market, is that something that you might be looking into, particularly for a bit of reinforcement in defence?
I think, yeah, reinforcement. Yeah, we, like I said, a while ago, kind of been planning, and a lot of it was going to be around sort of where we're at around this time. Yeah, fair to say we're still a little bit short in a couple of areas, and we need to reinforce. So that January's tricky in terms of, you know, what sort of players you can bring in, and you know, for us, ideally, you know, like for any club, I guess you want to bring in people who are going to make you stronger. But I think the fact that obviously we're still in the, you know, we're in the Carabao Cup semi-final, still got Europe, FA Cup, sort of we're in all the competitions. It's not like our schedule's going to sort of ease up at any stage. So I think it makes sense. We will try and reinforce where and sort of what number, we'll have to wait and see.
But yeah, without further ado then, let's get into it and start with our first name. Now, this transfer I'm quite intrigued with because I think that it's a good stopgap. I think it makes a lot of sense. I've actually, I think, been linked with him in the past. So I think, considering the defensive crisis we're currently going through, obviously injuries to Mickey van der Ven and Romero haven't helped. Dragerson and Archie Gray have been playing at the back alongside Fraser Forster. I think this player, he's versatile. He can play in a number of positions across that back line. Left back, centre back, right back, I believe. And he is Ben Godfrey. And if you didn't know this, Ben Godfrey obviously was at Norwich, went to Everton and had a large stint there. But in the summer, moved to Atalanta in Serie A. And he hasn't featured all that much. I think he's played actually more minutes in the Champions League than he has in the in Serie A. So I think this one makes a lot of sense just because we need someone with Premier League experience who probably won't cost too much money, who can come in and fill a gap, basically. And I think Ben Godfrey would be the perfect signing, really, in this January transfer window. A versatile defender, English, so it's good for the homegrown quota, and sort of, you know, I'd buy him. I wouldn't even loan him. I'd get him in just to, you know, fill a gap, and I think he would be good enough, you know. And then what happens in the summer is maybe we move him on. You know, we've got Luka Vuskovic coming in, so, you know, there isn't that much stress, but then he can play fullback, so there is that sort of cover in those positions. I think he's been quite a good player. I remember a couple of times when Tottenham faced Everton, he had a really good game. So I'm all for this signing, and I'll be honest, I really, really want it to happen. Similarly, next player is another defender, and I'm going to link this, basically the next two defenders are in the same sort of sphere because they're from the same club. It's Milan Skriniar and Randal Kolo Muani from PSG. Basically, Luis Enrique has said that he doesn't see a future at the club for these two players, which is a shame because I think Kolo Muani had so much potential at Eintracht Frankfurt. It hasn't really worked out for him at PSG. And similar to Milan Skriniar, was fantastic at Inter Milan. But again, hasn't really worked out. I mean, PSG are a basket case of a club anyway, and since losing Mbappe, they've just been a bit poor, haven't they? In the Champions League especially. But the problem is with Milan Skriniar is he's quite old and he's not really fast. So I don't think he would fit this system at all. We've seen in the current system under Ange Postecoglou that, Mickey van der Ven is fine with the high line because he's quite fast, very fast. Christian Romero's got some speed about him as well and he's comfortable on the ball. Milan Skriniar is very much your old school style centre-back and he's not really young, is he? He's very in the latter stages of his career. So I don't see that one happening at all. I think that's just a paper rumour, that one there. And the next one is obviously Randal, Kolo and Muani. Now, I think it's a good option. He's still, a good age. He's got potential. The Frenchman obviously starred in the World Cup as well and the most recent Euros. But it's one of those ones where he's just not proven it in Ligue 1. So would he prove it in the Premier League? Maybe you take a punt on it if it's a good price. We obviously could do with a couple more forwards. Richarlison's been injured a lot. There's a lot of pressure on Solanke, on Son and Brennan Johnson. Maybe he could play, a job coming off the bench. But I think for the fee and the wages that PSG would be looking for, I'm not sure about this one. And next up, we have Nicolo Fagioli from Juventus. Now, Juventus do a lot of, business with us. Obviously, we signed Dan Kulusevski from them, Romero, Bentancur, I think Dragosin obviously came through there as well. So we have a lot of good links with Serie A and especially Juventus. And Fagioli, obviously a midfielder. But I'm not really sure on this one. I'm not sure because I don't know too much about the player. I won't sit here and say that I do. But, I mean, from what I've read, I feel like there's not a lot in it. I feel like there's not too much really, to warrant this transfer in the midfield position. And what I will argue is I feel like there's two other options I think we should do in January. We either get Johnny Cardoso from Real Betis. We obviously have, there's a deal in place for that to possibly happen. Or there's another player at Juventus who I've argued for recently, not on videos, but in group chats and to friends. Why not go and get Douglas Luiz? He's not having the best time at Juventus. We know how good he could be when he was in the Premier League at Aston Villa. Aston Villa haven't necessarily missed him since getting Onana, John McGinn and Tielemans working in that midfield. But I think for a 6 and, Bentancur obviously hasn't played a lot of football since the ban, and I think he's our best 6, but, we need rotation. Bassoum been off the pace. We're looking for a class player. I think Douglas Luiz could fit that. Maybe we'd have to sign Alisha Lehmann because of part of that deal. They seem to move to the same clubs together. But forget Fagioli, Douglas Luiz for me. We all know we have an issue with goalkeeper. Very clear to say. That we really miss Vicario. I think Forster's been a great shot stopper, but he's not as comfortable with the ball at his feet. So 2 goalkeepers have been linked with us. We've obviously actually 3 if we count the Sunderland goalkeeper, but I can't see them selling him, with the charge they're going on in the Championship. But I've seen James Trafford being linked from Burnley and Kelleher from Liverpool. Now, I don't think we'd get Kelleher out of Liverpool. Obviously, I'd ideally go for him because I think he's been great when he stepped in for Alisson. But, would you rather be a backup at Liverpool and get your Premier League medal this year after really being important, or James Trafford from Burnley, which I know he's not the highest calibre of player. He hasn't, he wasn't really good when they signed him last year and they paid quite a heavy fee for him if I remember rightly. But if we want a keeper who's comfortable with playing it out from the back, good with his feet, then I think James Trafford would make a lot of sense. I like this one, but it's hard to know where the priorities stand for Spurs. I mean, Patrick Dorgu from Lecce would be a good signing at fullback, but I just, at the moment, all these rumours, who knows? Now, the last 4 are some that have been linked, but I think some of them might be a little bit on the, ridiculous side, because the first one is Julian Brandt from Borussia Dortmund, who, again, is on the latter side of his career now. Not really the profile of player that Tottenham are really going for, or in an Ange Postecoglou style. In the sense of like player profile in age, but maybe he would do well as an 8. I'd like the. I mean, I think Julian Brandt is an amazing player. Was fantastic last year. Dortmund haven't been as amazing this year. in both Champions League and the Bundesliga. But Julian Brandt is an interesting one because, I thought he was happy at Dortmund. I think he's been, a good talisman for them, a good leader. But, it seems that there is the possibility that he could leave. So, I'm not against it, but I think there are more logical signings to make in this window. And then next, and I'd take this player in a heartbeat, he could basically start for a majority of Premier League clubs. It's Matheus Cunha from Wolves. Obviously, Wolves in turgid form, aren't they? In the bottom three. But Cunha has been the shining light. One of the top goal scorers in the league. Very pivotal to their success in the last few seasons. And he's on the right trajectory to be a top player. They paid a lot of money for him, but many players or teams would be in for him. Your United, your Arsenals. I think he'd be really good playing in that sort of 10 position if we ever wanted him. And maybe rotate with Solanke up top. But I can't see him moving to us. It's a bit ridiculous. It's not in our price bracket. So I think Matheus Cunha is one for the dreamers out there. And this one was quite interesting. Leroy Sané. Now, if he was younger, I'd be all for it, but seems like he's out of favour now at Bayern Munich under Vincent Kompany. But I do like the idea of it. It's just a shame I think he's about 28 now, because I think he is the perfect, Ange Postecoglou winger. He would really go at players. We were linked with Kingsley Coman a little while back, and I like the idea of that. But Leroy Sané feels a bit ridiculous. I really like the idea of it, but I think it's just one of those ones where I think because our wingers position is so Odebear's been injured, Mikey Moore's been out for a while. Anyone who gets linked, we're all getting a bit excited, and Leroy Sané is one of those ones where it sounds good on paper, but I don't know if it could be good in practice. Now the final player has been linked somewhat. You've probably seen him on the thumbnail if you got this far as well. But Marcus Rashford's future is one of interest, isn't it? Dropped from the squad a couple of weeks ago. Ruben Amorim, not really sure if he's part of his plans. He's on a lot of wages is the issue. But, could Ange Postecoglou revive his career? I like the idea of it, English homegrown. I think on his day, Marcus Rashford has been a great player. His attitude can be questioned, but, lots of players have that sort of issue at the moment. But I like the idea that possibly it could happen. I feel like it's one where if you look down the league, where could he fit? Us is a club where he could come and he could thrive, and I feel like he'd be in a good environment with like-minded players. I think he could do a good job on the wing as well. But it's one of those ones where I can't see it happening, at least in January. I feel like he would want to go abroad, PSG or whatnot, get away from the media circus over here. But Marcus Rashford is one of interest, and I like the idea of it. But let me know in the comments down below, who of these players would you like to sign? Maybe give them a rating out of 10. And also, if you have enjoyed, leave your likes. As I said, leave your comments as well. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. That would be the best Christmas present of all. And until next time, Merry Christmas, and see you guys pretty soon. Ciao.